Good day to you, everyone. So, welcome you back to the course unit International Finance, offered by the Department of Commerce, Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, University of Sri Jagadhanapura. So, today session we are going to discuss one of the most important as well as most crucial session. We call foreign exchange risk, or we call foreign exchange exposure. So in this session, we try to understanding about foreign exchange risk, right? What are the types and what are the components of the foreign exchange risk, and what are the main mechanism that we can use to minimize the foreign exchange risk. Actually, I told you at the beginning of our session also, we cannot make foreign exchange risk zero. Okay, the only thing we can do is we can minimize it, or we can manage foreign exchange risk. Okay, so earlier we know something regarding the foreign exchange risk. So at that time also I told you that we are going to discuss this topic in a very comprehensive manner in our coming up sessions. Okay, so at that time we learned about the foreign exchange risk mean the fluctuation of foreign exchange risk. Now, for an example, today we call foreign exchange rate as 192 rupees per US dollar. So then tomorrow it might be 193 rupees per US dollar. So then compared to the today's exchange rate, the tomorrow exchange rate going to be changed. So that kind of deviation we call as a fluctuation, we identified as foreign exchange risk. Okay, so today we learn a little bit more about the foreign exchange risk and its main types and main component or main mechanism of controlling foreign exchange risk, right? If I recall your memory regarding the previous sessions, okay, so we started with the international finance introduction. That means you learn about why we need to learn the international finance as a subject, right? Specifically students who are following Bachelor of Commerce degree. Then we discuss about the foreign exchange rates and its quotations. Then moving on that, we discuss about the foreign exchange markets, right? Then we also discuss about the foreign exchange regimes, right? You know how the countries are deciding their foreign exchange rates based on that regimes. Then we discuss about the derivatives, right? Then you learn about what are the key components coming under the derivatives and what are the tools we are using to make that derivatives in action. Okay, so then in here we try to learn about the foreign exchange risk. So as usual, please refer chapter 10 in your recommended textbook to get comprehensive knowledge regarding foreign exchange risk, because you know that this slide show as well as this presentation does not contain deep detail regarding the subject content, right? Therefore, it is your responsibility to go along with the relevant chapter and make your own notes and get additional knowledge regarding foreign exchange risk, right? Okay, so then moving on our presentation. First of all, let's see what we mean by foreign exchange risk. Okay, so actually foreign exchange risk mean the foreign currency fluctuation. Okay, that is a simple meaning what we learn about foreign exchange risk. There is a fluctuation of foreign currencies. That means the foreign currency in terms of the domestic currencies. Okay, so the foreign currency fluctuation are one of the key sources of risk in foreign exchange market. That is our risk. Okay, so foreign exchange risk is commonly defined as the possibility of loss or profit resulted from that unexpected exchange rate changes. Now, normally, when you are looking at the foreign exchange risk, people think that because of the fluctuation of foreign exchange rates or foreign currencies, we only get losses. But remember, because of the changes in foreign exchange rates, right? For an example, if it is 190 rupees per dollar and tomorrow it might be 192 rupees per dollar, because of that exchange rate fluctuation, so exchange rate changes, people might get profit or people gain some benefits on that fluctuation. Right? Therefore, please don't consider that foreign exchange risk only as a loss-making process. Okay, even the foreign exchange risk, we can make profit in terms of our foreign exchange transaction. Right? So therefore, exchange rate risk we commonly known as a possibility of having losses or profits as a result from the unexpected exchange rate changes. Right? Now, we can call the degree to which a company is affected by exchange rate changes. Right? Now, in what extent? Extent may be the negative outcome as well as you might have a positive outcome. Right? Therefore, please don't think that risk is only accompanied with the negative result. Right? Risk always accompanied with the negative results as well as positive results. Right? Now, for an example, the Sri Lankan trader who imports potato from Sri Lanka for future payment in dollars is faced with the risk of rupee depreciation against the dollar when the payment is made. Now, we know normally when we are dealing with the international trade, right, we are taking the goods today, but we are settling the transaction in 2-3 months over. Right? Now, we learn those kind of process in our forward exchange rate, right? Forward market. Right? Now, once we are taking the good today, the exchange rate is somewhat, and when we are going to settle the transaction after 1, 2, 3 months, then exchange rate is different. Okay, so at that time we know that normally people are entering into the forward exchange transaction, or they establishing or they are building forward contracts. Right? If it is not, then once you are going to settle the transaction after 2-3 months back, after 2-3 months over, then you have to pay some risk with the rupee depreciation, and you might be get benefit if the rupee is appreciated. Right? When the rupee depreciated means you have to pay more rupees to buy, for an example, a unit of US dollar. Right? Then today it is 190, and 3 months back, 3 months over, it is 195. Then you have loss of 5 rupees per dollar transaction. Right? On the other hand, if the rupee is appreciated, right? Now, for an example, today it is 190, but with the economic development or some other reasons, the rupee might getting 185 per dollar. Right? Then the person who are entering into the transaction at that time make 5 rupees gain from his transaction. The 5 rupees gain per dollar from his transaction, right? Now you can see, if a rupee getting depreciated, that means exchange rate increase, we are having a possibility of loss. But if the rupee getting appreciated, that means the exchange rate getting decrease, then there is a possibility of having profit. Right? So therefore, there are two sides of coins every time. Don't think that the risk, exchange rate risk mean having losses only. Right? It is the possibility of having loss or profit resulted from the unexpected exchange rate changes. Right? Okay, please keep that in mind very carefully. Risk is not only for losses, but also you can gain profit. Right? Okay, so then types of foreign exchange risk. We know that even in your life, we are facing different risks. Right? It might be the financial risk, it might be the health risk, right? It might be some family type of risk, right? We don't know, right? So that all, when we are coming to the foreign exchange, there are several type of risk, right? We call translation risk, transaction risk, operating risk, and economic risk. Okay, so translation risk in the sense, normally people know it as accounting exposure or balance sheet risk, right? We can identify it as accounting risk or balance sheet risk, right? So on what occasion the translation risk happening? So what is the situation, what is the scenario that translation risk can be occurred? Right? So that kind of risk occurs as a result of rises from the need for the purpose of reporting and consolidation to convert the financial statement to the foreign operation from local currencies to foreign currency. Now in here you can remember that we discussed about the multinational companies, right? So multinational companies are some kind of business component where the main controlling unit is in one country, but their operation units are establishing in several countries, right? Like for an example, McDonald's, Pizza, Domino's, etc., KFC, right? So they are operating in the local context also, right? Those are multinational corporations. Now, in here, the local context, they are keeping their records in terms of local currency concept, local currency denominators. Now, if you take Sri Lanka as example, so McDonald's keep their profit or losses, or what we call accounting records, financial statement records, in terms of rupee denominators. But when we are going to present it, or when we are going to submit it to the main company or the mother company, they have to convert in that local currency financial statement into the common currency platform. For an example, US dollars. Right? So when we are trying to translating the accounting information or accounting transaction from one currency to another currency, we know that there are some changes happening. Right? So that kind of fluctuation in foreign exchange we call translation risk. Right? So normally the consolidated report, you are very familiar with those type of things because majority of you are following chartered accounting, right? So consolidated report, you have to convert the financial statement into the specific currency platform, right? Then for the local currency to the specific currency platform, definitely there are some exchange fluctuations. Right? So that type of risk we call translation risk, or we identify it as accounting exposure or balance sheet risk. Right? So if you are getting training at the particular this kind of multinational companies, please pay your attention in that type of transaction, or if you have a chance to look at their financial statements, please make sure that their first financial statement and they are converting financial statement. Then identify they might have some adjustment they are making at the end for the translation risk. Right? If any student who are who are engaging with the multinational companies internship training, please let us also know when you are having this kind of experiences, because we also like to know the practical component of this translation risk. Right? Even we are saying in theory there is a risk, but in practically we like to know. Right? Even in myself, I couldn't have the access to those things, and we don't have a possibility to show you these are the risk type. Right? Therefore, if any student who are having this kind of access to the consolidated report when converting into local currency into the foreign currency platform, please share your knowledge with others as well as to me, and then we can upgrade our knowledge also. Okay, so please keep that kind request in your mind. Right. Then the next one we call transaction risk. Right. First one, please don't get misleading. First one is a translation risk. That means when we are converting your financial statement into one currency to another, there is a risk of currency fluctuation. Then transaction risk means the exchange rate change between now and when these transactions settle. So does the value of the associated foreign currency cash flows lead into the currency gain or losses? Now, this type of thing we commonly discussed in our previous slide, right? When you are doing this transaction today, but when we are going to settle it after 2-3 months over, then the value of the foreign currency or value of the foreign exchange rate might be changed. Right? So we identify that if a Sri Lankan rupee getting depreciate or exchange rate increase, the importer has to pay more. Importer has to pay more. At that time, importer has to incur losses of his exchange transaction. On the other way around, if the Sri Lankan rupee getting depreciated or exchange rate increase, importers are getting benefit. Sorry, exporters are getting benefit. Excuse for my mistake. right? Why? Because earlier you are getting 190 rupees per dollar, but after 2-3 months over, you are getting 195 rupees per dollar. Then exporter, in the aspect of exporter, you are getting more rupees for your exported good, right? Then you please try to understand that on one occasion when the depreciation getting losses to the importer, on the other occasion the depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee getting benefit to the exporters. Okay, on the other way around, if Sri Lankan rupee getting appreciated, then importer are experiencing benefits. Why? The earlier we are paying 190 rupees per dollar, but now we are paying 188 rupees per dollar. Right? Now you have to pay less for your imported goods. Okay, so in contrast to that, then when if a Sri Lankan rupee is appreciated, now exporters has to pay loss or has to incur losses. Why? Earlier for the exported good, he might get 190, but now he get 188. Right? When a currency getting depreciated, if you are trying to pay something, you are incurring loss. When the currency getting depreciated, if you are eligible to receive something, then you are getting profit. Okay, when the currency getting appreciated, if you have to pay something, if you have to pay your settlement, then you are getting gain. But when the currency getting appreciated, if you are eligible for receiving something, then you are making losses. Okay, so that kind of transaction risk we can see. So actually under the transaction risk also we can see another type of risk we call operating risk. Right? So normally it happening, the operation risk we call as a measures the extent to which currency fluctuation can alter a company's future operating cash flows, that is future revenue and cost. Right? This is also similar to the transaction risk, right? But in here, the operating risk mean this is not happening today, but we are expecting or we are forecasting some operating expenses or operating revenues for our business functions, right? So operating risk along with accompanied with future action of the company. But the transaction risk, we try to do the transaction today. It is happening today, but when we are going to settle it over the 2-3 months back, right? So then we have to make losses or gain. But operating risk mean we try to make some future operating cash flows as well as cash revenues. Right? So actually the same scenario, but transaction happening today, this is a current scenario. Operating risk, we are concerning with the forecasting scenario. Okay, so then you can consider this transaction risk and operating risk as the same thing, right? But there are some changes happening because the transaction risk is at present situation and operating risk is we are forecasting situation, right? So the next risk we call economic risk, right? So economic risk means the extent to which the value of the firm as measured by the present value of the expected cash flow will change when the exchange rate changes. Now, as a student who are following financial management subject, you know the meaning of present value of the expected cash flows. Right? Now, you are calculating those things coming under the financial management, right? Then the foreign exchange risk also happening as the phase of economic risk, right? Because when we are calculating the present value of expected cash flows, it might be changed as a result of exchange rate changes. Right? Now, for an example, assuming that you are making investment into the foreign denominators like US dollar treasury bills, right? Then after 5 years time period over, you know that after 5 years, you will receive this much of currency after 5 years, right? When the treasury bill getting matured, you know that your principal amount plus your investment or your yield, you will get as when the treasury bills getting matured, right? When you can calculate that present value today, Right? You can calculate the present value today, but when you are trying to calculate the present value, if the exchange rates are going to be changed, right, continuously, that present values you are calculating might be reduced or might be increased. That we call the will change when exchange rate changes, right? So that's what we call economic risk. Now you can see that all type of risk, translation risk, transaction risk, coming under the operating risk also, and economic risk, those are happening because of exchange rate fluctuations, right? Sometimes you might get losses and sometimes you might get benefit as a result of exchange rate changes, right? I believe that now you are crystal clear regarding exchange rate risk or foreign exchange risk. Okay, right. Then moving on, today's session, actually today's discussion is very important. Now we are trying to identify what are the main components of managing exchange rate risk. Okay, so first we call, actually in here we don't try to say about any translation risk management policies or economic risk management policies, right? So today's session we highly focusing on, actually we only focusing on transaction risk. Okay, we place our main attention on transaction risk, right? So we in your textbook you can refer more details regarding translation risk, right? I will let you know at that time, but please remember for the today's session, actually for this session we try to focusing on the way of managing transaction risk. That means when you are doing the transaction today and try to settle the payment over 2-3 months finish, then how we are going to face that kind of exchange rate fluctuations, right? Okay, so first one, managing transaction risk, right? Now, before I come into the discussion of hedging, now we are all familiar with forward exchange rate, forward market, right? And forward contract. Actually, forward contract is one kind of mechanism or one kind of tool that foreign traders are using to minimize transaction risk. Now, since we already know about the forward market transaction, therefore we are not discussing the forward contract as a one type of managing transaction risk method. Okay, so actually you are thoroughly knowing about that forward market transaction. Okay, so here our attention is paying on the technique called hedging, right? I know that this term is not it's not a new term to you, right? This is very common term actually the economics are using, right? And recently also the government announced that they are trying to hedge the imported goods prices with some particular organizations for a 6 months time period, right? If you heard about the last week newspaper, if you look at the last week newspapers as well as some emerging news alerts, right? The Ministry of Trade specifically mentioned that the government is trying to prepare a hedging agreement or try to make a hedging contract with other parties to control or try to minimize the price fluctuation of essential goods for a next 6-month time period, right? So then what is that hedging, right? If you're referring our historical movement of the country, not last week one, more around 10 to 12 years back, this hedging topic was a common topic in Sri Lankan economy, right? If you remember the hedging transaction related with the oil, right? The Sri Lankan the government has to pay massive losses because of that hedging transactions, right? So please refer with the internet and find out the hedging transaction in Sri Lanka, government and HSBC Bank relating with the oil payment, that means crude oil payment. Right? Then also you can find out the hedging transaction happening in Sri Lankan history. Right. Anyway, let's see about this hedging. It is an establishing offsetting currency position so as to lock in a home currency value for the currency exposure and thereby eliminate the risk posed by the currency's fluctuation. Right? Normally, as a hedging contract or hedging agreement, what two parties do is they try to make an agreement to pay this much of amount, also pay this currency value for foreign currency values at a fixed exchange rate value. Right? Now, for an example, assuming that now Sri Lankan government make an agreement with the specific bank to purchase US dollar or to settle some particular transaction in terms of US dollar denominators, right, at a specific exchange rate called 150 rupees per dollar for a 3 months or 6 month time period, right? Now, if I draw it something in here, I believe you can see it clearly. Now, this is Sri Lankan government, right? Assuming that it is the government. Okay, and this is the bank, right? And this is the trader, right? Assuming this as our transaction. Now, Sri Lankan government normally purchase oil from Iraq, Iran, and some Saudi Arabian countries or Middle East countries, right? So we have to pay in terms of dollar. Now, when we are importing crude oil to Sri Lanka, we have to pay in terms of dollar, right? And we know that we have to import crude oil continuously, right? There is no any other stop point for that transaction, right? Every day, every month, every week, we are making transaction, right? And also we know that since we have to pay dollar, right? If Sri Lankan rupee getting fluctuation against with dollar continuously, right? Normally government has to pay more rupees to settle this transaction in terms of dollar, right? So then government try to overcome in that exchange rate fluctuation. What they can do is they make an agreement with this specific bank, right? They make agreement with the specific bank. Please sell your currencies to us, right? Sell your dollars to us, and we are paying this amount. That means, for an example, rupees 150 per dollar. We are paying this amount, right, for the next 3 months, right, for the next 3 months. Then what is the agreement? Now Sri Lankan government make agreement with the specific bank. We purchase dollars from your bank, right? Please sell us your dollars to us, and we are paying fixed amount, that means 150 rupees per dollar, and that exchange rate is going on for a 3 months period of time. Right? Now you know that 150 rupees per dollar for the 3 months is somewhat reasonable, because every day this exchange rate is changing. Right? For the 3 months, at the end of the 3 months, it might be actual spot rate might be 155 rupees per dollar. Right? Then government making 5 rupees benefit from its from this kind of agreement. Right? So therefore, the government making this kind of agreement with the bank, this kind of agreement we call hedging. Right? Actually, the bank does not pay for here. Right? Bank actually does not pay for here, but if the government want it, they can do it. Right? But in here, but the bank doing is, right? But the bank doing is, they are paying that 100, they are selling their dollars to the government by taking 150 rupees per dollar. And this agreement is valid for a 3 months time period. Right? Then when the government is importing crude oil to the country, right, to settle the dollar transaction, government buys dollars from the bank by paying 150 rupees per dollar and settle their transaction in here. Right? Every day to day, they are making the settlement. Right? of the 3 months time period, whatever happening in this spot exchange rate, the government has to pay only this 150 rupees per dollar. Right? So that is the agreement. We call it as a hedging. Then how we are reducing the risk? Because even the spot exchange rate are changing, we don't want to worry about it. The government doesn't need to worry about it because they have to pay fixed amount. Right? Then you might be considering that the why bank are entering into this kind of transaction or this kind of hedging contract. If they know that exchange rates are fluctuating this much of time, this much of rate, right? If our depreciation rate is somewhat, then bank might have a risk. But remember, what will happen? This 150 or the spot exchange rate is lower than 150 for this 3 months period. Then bank getting benefit. Bank getting benefit. So there are two-side transaction, right? One time government might get benefit and other way around, bank getting benefit. Okay. So the variety of hedging techniques are available. This is very simple explanation. Okay. This is very simple explanation. That's why I want you to understand what is a hedging. Right. So there are several techniques. Sometimes government asks bank to settle the transaction and government pay this amount to the bank. Right? Or bank play a intermediate in role in between trade and this the trade parties and the government. Okay, so these are the transaction type, or these are the hedging techniques available. Okay, and but before the firm use them, it might decide on which risk to manage and how to manage them. Right? Therefore, they need to consider about. Here we are considering only the transaction risk, right? Sometimes people try to get with the operation risk, economic risk, etc. Okay. True exchange rate may move into the future. Hedging needs to arrange a firm financial affairs in such a way that effects of currency or dollar returns are minimized. Right? So they decide in this settlement exchange rate by considering the depreciation rate as well as a risk of exchange rate fluctuation in the particular economy. Okay, so while considering their spot rate today as well as the depreciation rate history and the risk of economy of the country, the bank decide what would be their hedging rate. Right? So firms follow sensitive hedging policies designed to protect against anticipated currency movements. Right? Now I tell you the story about our crude oil hedging transaction happening in Sri Lankan government and the HSBC bank. Right? It also similar this kind of transaction because government agree with the HSBC bank to buy foreign currencies or settle the crude oil imported values. Right, crude oil imported values by paying this much of fixed exchange rate. Right, then the bank settle the trade transaction with the trader by paying dollars. So ultimately, government paid rupees term to the bank equal to that dollar amount. Right, that agree with this pre-specified rate. Right, now for an example, assuming that we have to pay $1,000 per first week crude oil importing value, right? Then bank settle this $100,000 to the trader, right? Then by paying 150 into 1,000 rupees, 150 into 1,000, the government set off that transaction, right? So assuming that next week, the bank pays 1,500 rupees for the trader. Then government settle that transaction by paying 150 into 1,500 payment. Right? This is happening. Now, this is the thing happening in the bank. This is the thing happening in our crude oil hedging. But what happened is there with some economical transformation or economical growth and whatever the reason, right? The dollar value, that means dollar value in terms of rupee getting declined. That means in other sense, rupee getting appreciated against dollar. Right? Then rupee getting appreciated, it is a very massive appreciation rate. Rupee getting appreciation against dollar because dollar value getting devalued in the economy. Right? Then at that time, actually exchange rates are far below this spot rate. Right? Assuming that at that time, within this 3 months time period, the exchange rate are actually dropped down for 140 rupees per dollar. It is actually dropped down. Now the bank getting benefit. Now bank getting benefit. Why? Now bank receive 150. Instead of that, they have to pay only 140. Right? The actual cost is 140 rupees per dollar. But the actual benefit is 150 rupees per dollar, which they are getting from the bank. Sorry, government. Now you can see the bank getting profit. Now this is this kind of exchange rate fluctuation, that means dollar value devaluation happening continuously for a considerable time period. Then the Sri Lankan government sees that this kind of hedging transaction is not worth to them anymore. දැන් මෙහෙම exchange rate පල්ලයට යනකොට government එක මොකද කරේ? දැන් 150ක් ගෙවන එක අලාභයිනේ අපිට 140ක් ගෙවන්න තියෙන chance එකේ කියලා. They are violating hedging agreement. What the Sri Lankan government do is they are violating hedging agreement. That means they are not getting dollars from the specific bank, but they are getting the dollars from some other way around and settle the transaction. Right? Then what the bank do is they file a case against the government that violating of the hedging agreement. Okay? What is the delimit of that hedging agreement? Because government only considering the exchange rate increase in perspective of the agreement. That means government only consider that the exchange rate will increase in future. Therefore, it is better to go with this kind of exchange rate. But government did not consider that what will happen if the exchange rates are going down. Government එක හැම වෙලේම හිතුවේ exchange rate එක එන්න වැඩි වෙයි කියලා. They predict in that way, but government doesn't predict that the exchange rate might be getting down. එතකොට agreement එකේ ගහගෙන තිබ්බේ නෑ government එක exchange rate අඩු වෙච්ච වෙලාවකට මොකද්ද අපි කළ යුත්තේ කියන එක. Right? That's why it says the firms need to follow sensitive hedging policies designed to protect against anticipated currency movement. Right? Therefore, when you are making the hedging agreement, when the party is making hedging agreement, they need to think about two sides. Right? They have to think about exchange rate increasing movement as well as exchange rate decreasing movement and come to some kind of agreement. What will happen if exchange rate are decreasing? Then what would be their settlement exchange rate value? Right? If the government is brave enough to make the settlement agreement, something like that, right? If the exchange rates are decreasing continuously for the 2 weeks or 3 weeks period, they can reduce this exchange rate up to some level. Right? Now, for an example, it might be agreed to as 147, something like that, right? But without making that kind of agreement, the government enter into the hedging agreement with the bank, right? But there is no repercussion for the exchange rate decreases, right? So as a result of that, government has to pay huge compensation, massive compensation to the bank because of violating hedging agreement. Right? Please refer the internet and see this history, right? Hedging agreement between Sri Lankan government and HSBC Bank. Okay, so that's what the story about hedging. Then you might have a question, why hedging is, how hedging is differ with the forward contract? Because both are same, right? Because in the forward contract also we are fixing our exchange rate and we try to settle the transaction at a pre-specified date with that pre-specified rate. But remember, forward transactions are happening. Now, here we call the transaction time, and this is our settlement time. Right? Now, here the transactions are occurring only one place. Right? After 3 months, we pay the transaction. Suppose exchange rate is rupee $160, 160 rupees per dollar. Right? And you have to pay $1,000 after 1 month. Sorry, after 3 months. Whatever, right? Then after 3 months, what you can do is you have to pay 160 in terms of 1,000 and settle the transaction. After that, forward transaction is over. But remember, under the hedging, what we do is, in hedging, there are 2 parties, assuming that 2 parties, we are making that contract, right? Within 3 months time period, whatever the transaction happening, we have to set off the value with 150 rupees per dollar. Now remember, it is not only the single transaction, those are several transactions occurring during that agreed time period. Right? So that is the difference between forward contract and hedging contract. Please remember that point. Okay, right. Let's move into some example. Right. So hedging example in forward market. Now you can see. Now this is some kind of forward market transaction. Right. Now assuming that, excuse me. Now suppose that importer in USA want to pay $100,000 in 3 months for the good he imported today. Now today's spot rate is we call per pound $2, right? Then importer could buy pound 100,000 forward for the delivery and payment in 3 months at the today's 3 months forward rate. Okay. Now assuming that forward is at a premium of 4% per year, then you can calculate the forward rate, right? Then it will getting as forward rate, you can get it as forward rate per pound into dollar, right? When comparing to the spot rate, the pound is at a forward premium of 4%. Therefore, you will get the rate as $2.02 per pound, right? So that is the way you can calculate your forward rate. Now you are familiar with those things, therefore I'm not wasting my time to teach them again, right? So at the end of the 3 months, so the importer has to pay $202,000 in 3 months for the payment of 100,000 pound. Then your hedging cost is $2,000. That means 1% of the $200,000 for 3 months. Now this is normally we know that is this is our hedging transaction, right? This is normal hedging transaction, right? Now let's move into the hedging transaction happening in hedging example happening in money market hedging. That means this is a real hedging transaction, right? Now this is a real hedging transaction.